afternoon. My name is Tolly Kura. Today, we're very pleased to have in our studio here the Honorable Thomas S. Grupee. He's Senator for Nimba County, Liberia. And this year we'll be celebrating the 169th anniversary of the Republic of Liberia. Liberia has had a long history and connection between the state of Massachusetts and Liberia. I want to explore those ties between Massachusetts and Liberia particularly, and we want to ask Senator Grupee some questions relative to the history, but also about the current state of affairs in Liberia, the accomplishments of the government in power right now, the challenges and the opportunities and threats that face the country as we move on to the 2017 presidential and general elections. Honorable Grupee, thank you and welcome to our studios today.
Very, pleased to be here with you today.
Okay, just tell us a little bit about your background yourself.
First and foremost, let me say thanks to the Almighty God for making it possible for me to be back here again. I left Liberia about 3 weeks ago, and as you may know, before going back to Liberia, I have been a long-time resident here in Massachusetts, for almost 27 years, where we work with our officials within, the state of Massachusetts. And I also want to say thank to our Liberians living within the environment of Boston for giving me the opportunities, to go back home and serve my people. Since my election that in 2011, I believe we have been there now for about 4.5 years. I'm elected for 9 years, and I have served for 4.5 years, with a remaining 4.5 years to go. There's so much, so many challenges on the ground, as you may know. Liberia went through a brutal civil war for 14 years. And after the civil war, we have a peacekeeper, in Liberia that we call UNMIL. Is the United Nations, peace monitoring group in Liberia. The troops are leaving this month, this June. Their mission in Liberia, ends this month. So we call that UNMIL drawdown. And as you may also know, there is an election, pending election for Liberia for the House of Representatives and the presidency, coming up.
Are you running?
No, no senator is running in this election. Okay. This election is strictly for the presidency and the House of Representatives, the 73 members of the House. So there have been a lot of activities going on, and the political, heat is on. Our election is scheduled for the 10th of October 2017. And right now we have about 22 political parties that have actually registered. And this shows to you...
more to register?
And more to register.
Okay.
I heard that there's 22 pending and 22 actually registered. So,
why is it that so many people want to get involved in?
I consider it as a healthy of democracy. People honor our 1986 Constitution. You have the right, to form a political party or either present yourself as an independent candidate.
Okay.
And they make our democracy somehow healthy for now. There have been a call for us to put a limit to how many political parties that we
Why are they calling for a limit? What are the justifications that people give for limiting?
One of the justifications having to be that Liberia is only 4.5 million people. And with 4.5 million people having over 30 political parties, it does not present us as a people of one nation with one objective. So having, a fewer political parties will give us the focus as to where we want to go as a people and as a country. People also argue that all of the political parties, you will find some of the political parties that have a very few membership that do not even have up to 2 or 3% of the vote.
But they have,
But
they
yet
have,
they
they have
just-
a requirement, they have a prerequisite for registration. You've got to
Right.
have certain members in certain places.
Yes, you have to have a signature, the signature requirement for 10,000, signature. That is there, but we do not have a requirement for percentage of the vote.
Okay.
And now what we're trying, from the side of the legislature, trying to bring about is that any political party that does not have at least 5% of the vote, that political party should not be permitted to, to continue.
Next time.
To exist next time. And I think it is similar to the law that you have in this particular, country, in this great United States. But I, for one, and many others, we are not, interested in the limitation, by law, to say that political parties in Liberia should be limited to 2 or 3 or 4, as the other, group are calling for. We think that by this fair competition, people who are not able, to compete in the market or to meet this particular requirement of at least 5% will die away, by the wayside, and it should not be forced, to do so. So those are some of the issues.
I have a few questions for you. What are some of the major accomplishments of the Salif administration? I know we have 3 branches of government: the legislative, the judiciary, and the executive. And you're not a member of the executive, but judging from your position as a member of the legislative branch, what would you say would be the top 3 accomplishments of this administration?
That is very well true. We have 3 branches of government, and we have within our constitution the provision of collaboration. Okay, the 3 branches separate but coordinated. Okay, and as you may know, we, from the side of the legislative, branch of government, having to be, the first branch of government, and then the custodian of the state. We are the father of the state. So we give birth to the other 2 branches, and then we also, approve policy and guiding for, the country. So we play a pivotal role. Now, asking about accomplishment, the Salif government, being the second democratically elected government after the Civil War. Because after the Civil War, Charles Taylor was elected, and then after that we have Mr. Salif, coming in. The government has really achieved a whole lot.
So the top 3, what would you say?
The top 3, one would be, the restoration of electricity. One of the fundamental issues that we will also count as part of the accomplishment is the rule of law. Okay, and rule of law, the institution of democracy. Liberia is at the crossroad, and to democratize Liberia means freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of gathering, and making sure that you observe the rule of law, very, very paramount, to the survival of the country. And then, of course, road connectivities. I'm coming from, representing the bigger county within the 15 political subdivision in Liberia, Nimba. Nimba is the largest among the 15. And then Nimba also is the second most populated county, second to Maserado County. So we have a lot of challenges, and one of our key, problems having to be road. Okay, so road connectivities are actually improved within the country. I was there when I was part of the delegation to dedicate, the road leading from Banga to Ganta, Guinea border, and that was a major achievement. We have a road, paved road, leading from Monrovia, rail light, going all the way to Ganta, and the first phase of that road was dedicated, about 3 months ago.
Okay, so just summarize the three things for me. Number one would be the road, connection,
yes,
electricity,
and
the rule of law.
The rule of laws.
Okay,
yes.
so what would you say would be the challenges? What are the top three challenges?
Well, we still have immense challenges, but we're talking about three top, challenges. Would be we're talking about security. Okay. Okay, the country since the institutions of UNMIL as a peacekeeping unit in Liberia, the security of the state also have to do, partly with security is the forthcoming election. How free, transparent and peaceful will that election be? It's a challenge for us. Up to now, we have not had, municipal elections. Why? Because of lack of money. We don't have the resources, it's available.
So how much does that election cost different from the cost of the general election that we have? Because they've had three presidential elections: President Taylor's election, President Johnson's first term, President Johnson's second term election. Right. All of those elections were paid for. And so why wasn't the budget inclusive to include municipal elections?
Well, there are some logistical concerns which have to do with roads, getting to the rural part of the country and making sure that you have your chieftaincy, arranged, okay, in a way before going to election. All of that are to be taken into consideration. Then the first, the elections that we're talking about cost about $5 million.
Each election costs $5 million?
About $5 million.
Wow.
This particular election coming, they have presented a budget, if I'm not mistaken, in the neighborhood of $3 million. That excludes, the chieftaincy election. Yeah. So now, I been the chair on internal affairs, good governing and reconciliation. They fall right under my supervision, my oversight. We have asked the government, the executive, that we must work to have, chieftaincy election, the municipal elections, because there is a way that the indigenous, who are the vast majority of the popular, will feel inclusive in a political, setting.
What was the response of the executive?
The response, we are all still working on it, and it falls back on the same issues that have to do, with the budget. Right now, the executive has submitted the draft, budget for 2016-2017 to the legislature, which comes, from the beginning of May, and we are going to be working on it in this June. So during this budget hearing, we are going to be calling on the election commission to see how best, this election could be held with the inclusion, okay, of the chieftaincy election. Because for me, it is a gross violation to our constitution, okay, which states that chiefs should be elected, paramount, clan, and town chief.
And mayors too.
Yeah, should be elected by, their citizens.
Yeah.
Okay, so without them being elected and then being appointed by the executive, we found that somehow to be a violation of our constitution, and we cannot continue to violate the constitution.
What is the justification of the executive continuing that trend of not having municipal or chieftaincy election, aside from the budgetary constraint?
I just told you there's a lot of logistical concerns that have to be put in place. We have to make sure that there's new, mapping. The how they call register of voters. Okay, voter registrations have to take into consideration the demographic and making sure that we have a clear demarcation, of clans, chiefdom and districts, so that people cannot jump from one area to go and vote into another area. All of these have to be put in place, properly, in order for us to carry on the local elections.
Okay. I didn't finish with the challenges you just mentioned. I mean, you mentioned the election, the upcoming challenges you mentioned.
Yes, security. I told you about security. And then about instituting democracy in a holistic manner, which include the elections, and how are we going to manage our own security as a people after the drawdown of unmeal. These are some of the challenges. Some challenges remain, like electricity. Right now we are benefiting from the what we call the West African power pool. That is the electricity that running from Ghana through Ivory Coast to Liberia. Okay, few counties are now benefiting from that, but the vast majority of the areas remain without electricity. Even Monrovia, okay, remain without, some part of Monrovia remain without electricity. That is a major challenge. Another major challenge is that we have having to do with, safe drinking water. Okay, as you may know, most of our areas, in fact, in Monrovia, we have problem with water and sewer, rotting, harbor, points, okay, to give water, safe drinking water to the population. Those are some of the serious challenges that we have, and we are really working on those. But in a large part, I believe, the Salif government done well by at least creating the enabling environment where people are able to move freely, and then where people are able to contribute, to the development and growth of the country.
What is the role of the opposition? You're not a member of the President Salif party, are you?
Oh no, I'm a member of the opposition party. But to be very frank, when you talk about opposition in Africa, let me narrow it to Liberia. We do not have party politics. Okay? Like what you see here in this country, when you see, the Democratic or the Republican Party, you can pinpoint, the disparity. We don't have that in Liberia. We have so much in common. If you're having to look at all of the political parties that I just told you about, you look at their platform, there's a lot of similarity. Everybody looking for good governing, transparency, eradication of corruption, accountability. Everybody looking just for the same thing. And as God will have it, we don't have racial problem, but we are all, Liberians, we are all blacks. We don't have problem, social problem like gay, lesbian, abortion, and all of those issues. We don't have those kind of issues. So we do not really practice that much of party politics. What is important to Liberians having to do with our goal and objectives of how to really, promote the country, how to develop the country, how to make sure that everyone that lives in the country, cooperate in a unified manner. Those are what are very, very important to us.
There was an article on the Bush ticket when you mentioned about the ritualistic killings that happens in Liberia prior to election, and you were recommending a new capital punishment. You know, in Massachusetts we don't have capital punishment, right?
Yeah, no, we don't have capital punishment in Massachusetts.
Why would you?
But we do have capital punishment in most states in the United States.
Yes.
Texas and other states do have capital punishment. And capital punishment have been used as a deterrent, for hidden crime. And in Liberia, during the administration of President Thomas, when you and myself were born, and then President Thomas, where we went to school during that era, we do have capital punishment those days. We serve as a deterrent for hidden crimes such as ritualistic killing. Now, because the International Human Rights organization went to Liberia and said that there should be no more capital punishment, and indeed there have been no capital punishment now in Liberia. The issue of ritualistic killing, the issue of mysterious, disappearance of youngsters, children, become very permanent. Even people rape and kill, and all of this, and goes with impunity. So now, in my country, there was 17, ritualistic deaths.
Wow.
17.
In this past year?
In the past year, okay? So, and then the more recognizable one was what happened in September of last year, when this young motorcyclist was killed and part extracted. Okay, I think they have the graphic, something on the internet. Okay, so our women of the county went and wrote a letter to Madam President with CC copy to every one of us, telling us that enough was enough, because most of these killings had gone unsolved. So responding to their plights as one of the policy makers, I came up with the idea that reintroducing capital punishment in Liberia will work out in a way that we would try to minimize this ritualistic killing. And it is still high on my agenda because children, I'm talking about innocent children being killed. We have a little girl who was about 5 years old that was kidnapped, and had in captivity for about 3 months. Yeah, 3 months. They couldn't find her. And just within the same time when this, gentleman, the young boy was killed, people went and discovered the body, and the body was very fresh.
The body of the young girl?
Of the young girl, okay.
5 years old?
5 years old, in a little creek, right there at District 7. And this body was very fresh. She had just been killed about a few hours, before they discovered her. All right, and all of her body part was extracted.
Wow.
Okay, so that
the International Human Rights Organization have come to say abolish capital punishment.
Yeah.
And now with this type of killing going on, ritualistic killing, where you have 17 persons killed in one county, have there been any outcry from the international human rights community about this?
No, not that I know of, except that condemnation. Condemnation always come about. Even quite recently, we have a high-profile case like the Harry situation. Condemnation comes from everywhere, but for anybody to take a drastic stand as to how to alleviate this problem, how to bring comfort to the victims, families and so forth, are not being done. And this is why we are leading towards the legislation of reintroduction of capital punishment for certain hidden crime within our society.
So currently, on the books, on the laws of Liberia, their capital punishment does not exist?
No, does not exist.
Currently,
There's no, the international community consider capital punishment to be inhumane, and cruel. So for that reason, there is no capital punishment right now in Liberia. When you and I was in Liberia, I believe under the administration of William Aratow, you know that there was capital punishment when William Obi, a Nigerian national, who took the life of an innocent person, was, hanged, and that deterred capital, this kind of crime. Also, we have a former, representative, Yancy. In fact, Yancy was a representative during the time when the act was committed from Maryland. Okay, and William Yancy was there with. Okay,
he was a sitting representative.
He was a sitting representative.
And he committed a crime.
Yeah, he committed a crime. And they found a human remain in his vehicle. Wow. He was start searched and indicted for the crime, and he was executed. Okay, so those things, deter at least ritualistic killing, those days. But now the international community, especially the human rights, organization, say that there should be no capital punishment in Liberia. It really gives freedom to those who, take pleasure in killing other people's children in order for them to get the permanency. Yeah. And if you don't work hard to appeal to the citizen to elect you to office, but to go and kill, to use human blood, at least, for you to get the power or to get money, I think that there should be some punishment.
Okay, so the deterrent you're talking about is to make sure that that this type of crime, people who commit such a crime will think twice before.
Exactly. That's a deterrent. If you're having to set an example, where people, being put on fire squad or, giving some sort of, punishment for their crime, it will deter others to say, well, if I'm having to do this, I should that.
If you were president of Liberia, would you carry out?
Definitely. Look, I always told people, if I having to even kill chicken, okay, for me to get the permanency, then I don't deserve it. Okay, that should not be the way in which human beings should come to power. Okay, and these things people do it for common in Africa, especially so in Liberia, and they do it with the very poor people who cannot get justice, people who have no means, economically. These are the people that they prey on, and that is very bad. And if the justice is blind, then of course you should take a course, whether you are rich or poor. And if poor people, children have been killed, body part extracted just for somebody to get the permanent, then of course, there should be some sort of punishment for deterrent.
According to the bush chicken, you had another interview when you said that the whole system of governance in Liberia was corrupt, was a big mess.
Yeah.
That's how do you think that mess can be cleaned up? I mean, a lot of people have campaigned to say corruption, like you said, all of the political parties come, they want to eradicate corruption, they want good rules, they want to do all of these things. It doesn't really end up happening. What do you think can be done to get rid of this systemic corruption in Liberia?
Well, to be very frank, I'm one of those who is very bold when speaking on issues in Liberia, whether it had to do with corruption, whether it had to do with ritualistic killing or what have you.
Are you not afraid?
I'm not afraid for the fact that if I'm, like George Bush, senior once said in this country, if you cannot stand the heat, then get out of the kitchen. And once I'm in the kitchen, I believe that I have already understood that while there I will have to stand the heat, the smoke, and everything else. Now, Liberia, I don't even talk about eradication of corruption. I talk about minimization of corruption. Liberia is very, very corrupt. The country is very corrupt. And almost people accepting job in Liberia will go in with the mindset, not for the salary, not for the benefit, okay, but for what they will get as a kickback, what they will get as, a tip.
So they're not going for patriotism?
No.
They're not going for the salary of the job? They're not going for the benefit? They're going for corruption?
In anybody's minds, you will not say that I'm going for corruption. But they are going there to say what I am going to get, behind this job.
Okay.
Like for instance, you will have an immigration, officer who will say that I'm not making enough money. In fact, we are not being paid for 5 years or a year or 5 months or so on. But yet still want to wear that uniform and go out every morning. Okay? Does that show only that he is being very patriotic to his country? No. Because wearing that uniform it is another way, it is another power that you will use to intimidate, others. In order for you to get something in return. And the problem that we have with law and order in Liberia, like for instance, policemen, enforcing the traffic rule. It is so difficult because what? Most of them have already been compromised. The taxi driver approaching a police officer, which the act that set up these corporations are rating. Okay. We don't have any means, okay, of doing that. Like for instance, we were talking about the maritime. The commissioner of maritime was making about $250,000 US.
$250,000 just for the salary?
US. That salary and benefits that he was making. Now, we had no control as the legislators over the salary for the father. What we do is, since the act that established that entity said that they can use all of what they generate
to enrich
to enrich the corporation, mm-hmm, okay, they will use the salary as part of, the enrichment process. Okay. So as a result, it is really difficult for us to set that salary. Now, the Constitution, states that the legislature should set the salary of all government employees, including the president.
And they are not government employees.
Exactly. So that is the problem. So even those other entities like ministries and agencies that are directly under the government, when they bring their budget, what we do is to approve the budget in bulk.
You like can pick.
Exactly. Like for instance, tell us that the minister's salary is this amount. So if we have about 37 million budget for a ministry, mm-hmm, and out of that 37, you have $8 million for a salary.
Who determines the minister's salary in that case?
The president. The president, okay, yes, because they look at their budget, okay, and see what ought to be allotted, to minister, deputy minister, and what have you. Mm-hmm. Yes, but there is a city set up by the president.
One final question. The budget of the office for the pro tem and the budget for the office of the speaker, you have any comment on that?
In what way?
The budget, well, the last time
$1 million, yes.
Yeah, for the budget of the office.
Of the office of the pro tem.
And then
the speaker have.
First, I would like to wish you a very happy Independence Day in advance. And I would like to know what are your plans, what you will be doing on 21st of July.
Our Independence Day, what Mrs. Sully instituted when she came to power, is for the independence to be observed in each of the...
I would like to know what Senator will be doing on the 26th of July, your personal celebration.
Oh, personally, I will be celebrating the 26th of July with my people, with members of my constituents, mm-hmm, and we marry me. eat a lot of
Will
food.
you be here?
No, I will be in Liberia. I will be
Okay.
in Liberia.
Okay.
In Nimba County.
In Nimba County. My county have 9, political subdivision within there, and which we call district, electoral district. So I will be spending the Independence Day in one of the electoral district, calling all the people together, for them to present their plans, what kind of development, agenda that they have, and that's what we do. And this is exactly what I'll be doing.
Okay. And you mentioned earlier that you won't be celebrating Independence Day officially.
Yeah, the government of Liberia, during the administration of Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, she instituted Independence Day to be celebrated in each of our county, what you call your state, again, each of the county. This year, Independence was supposed to be celebrated in 3 counties put together, but the 3 counties did not go with the preparation, that was needed because of money, budgetary constraint. They were not able to put all of the preparation together. Therefore, the government will not be having an official, independence celebration. But whatever that is to be done as second oldest, country in Africa will be done in the capital by, the government.
Okay, I have one more question. What the Liberian national anthem means to you?
Well, the national anthem of Liberia, which was, written here in the United States, it presents to all our heritage and the freedom as a first independent. Liberia is considered to be the first independent country in Africa. Okay, so so as such, Ethiopia by history is the first, but
We are the first republic.
we are the first republic,
Yeah.
Okay.
in Africa, and